Mr. Joshi, a great environmentalist, social worker, and as we have heard from our various speakers just now, the kind of work he did for in the social field, in the environmental field, and even in the political. I'm very happy to be associated with the subject which is being talked about today, the rights of the river, the problems and the prospects. Distinguished members, including Mr. Rahul, Mr. Tongar, Mr. Joshi, Mr. Rana, and everybody else who might have missed, and the attendees of this webinar. See, this topic today is of immense value, and it is of great consideration for us, not only Indians, but for the world across. Because see, there are hardly rivers which flow within the country. Most of the rivers across the globe, they flow more than one countries or definitely different states. Now in India, we have more than 400 rivers of different classifications, whether you call them Himalayan rivers, basin rivers, or you call them rivers created by man, society needs, rain rivers, or whatever. See, I do not see that rivers is a problem. See, rivers is always a natural asset, a human asset. It's the human beings who are problems to the rivers. So the face of problem is a creative zone by the human beings, while the rivers are just a good asset of nature for the existence of the humanity. Traditionally, if you look at our heritage, which is very rich in environment and heritage, we used to worship, and even today we worship the rivers. Why we used to worship the rivers? Why all our habitations were on the banks of the rivers? Why do you find most of the temples, most of the significant structures of historical importance on the rivers' banks? Rivers, therefore, had a geographical, biodiversical, humanity, existence, and it was the bare necessity of the people who were living across the rivers. And the rivers were a direct source of human living for all these years since we started polluting the rivers with impunity. Before I touch on some of the very sensitive issues of this topic, I would like to share with all of you a video clipping which was sent to me in June 2020 about River Ganga, of course, after coming into the unfortunate scene of COVID-19. Kindly have a look at this and see what River Ganga was prior and was in June 2020 and what kind of a river we were looking for. So I would just play it for your benefit. Kindly have a look. I hope you people can look at it.
Yes.
Okay, so that is River Ganga in June 2020 without any tremendous legal or political or executive harshness. It is the natural slap on the face of the people to teach them how they should protect rivers. It's the same river Ganga Nothing has been done to it from February onwards, but in June, you could straight away put your hand into the river Ganga and drink the water as a direct source of drinking water. How did it happen? Now, this takes us to very simple principles of environmental jurisprudence. The environmental jurisprudence recognizes three basic or four principles, you can say. Three are statutory given, but one is an inbuilt into it. First, of course, foremost is sustainable development. Then you have intergenerational equity, Pluta-Pace principle, and the precautionary principle. Now, these principles have automatically become applicable to River Ganga during this COVID-19 period. It's a very unfortunate period, not for us, but across the globe. But its impacts have taught us how to protect our natural resources. Now, the River Ganga, what happened was people stopped throwing direct waste into it, direct sewage into it, and the restricted role of human beings in relation to the flow of the river. These three things automatically happened per compulsion because of lockdowns, because of restrictions imposed, because of release and discharge of waste and dumping of waste. All this led to cleaning of river Ganga. So why can't we do it in the normal course of life? Why COVID-19 had to come into picture with so much of pain to humanity than to teach us how to protect our rivers. Now, when we talk of the principle of sustainable development, it is applicable to all kind of developments. Nobody is saying you should not develop your country. You should not take industrial, economic, you know, infrastructure developments. No, you should, but follow the principle of sustainable development. Once you follow the principle of sustainable development, all the activities that per compulsion has happened now would be attained their status on simple performance of our role in relation to rivers. So we have to protect the rivers at any cost. Now, who has polluted? Now, for example, if you take and you have Mr. Manoj sitting there. Now, in Delhi, if you go to little old times, Yamuna was the only source of water for Delhi. The whole Delhi was located on the bank of River Yamuna, including the Chandni Chowk and all old Delhi areas. Now, why was it that the river was clean even at that time? Why did we make a mess of it? It went to the extent that you could not touch the water of River Yamuna without threatening yourself of some disease or the other. The pollution of river got into the life chain. Your vegetables were found to be infected to the extent that they could be resulting into cancer. They could do other damage to your body, and very unhealthy agriculture or even horticulture activity was being carried on the banks of the river. Now, why can't we pay our attention for the purposes of resolving the problems in relation to whether biodiversity, whether cleaning of rivers, or maintaining due harmony and principle of sustainable development or precautionary principle for their protection? Now, we can always and always consider that we do not cause an irreparable damage to the water quality of our rivers. But that's what we did in the case of River Yamuna. Now, to correct that, probably then you have to see it's a very unfortunate affair. And it's a big economic setback to our country as a whole. First, there is a beautiful, pure, good water river like Ganga, like river, Vyas, whichever you talk of these rivers flowing in. But then what you do is you pollute them utterly. You do everything and anything to pollute them in terms of human discharge, in terms of industrial discharge, in terms of unsustainable developments around their areas, throwing the waste into the rivers. So these are some of the basic problems which are universally true for each and every river of our country. And then we spend money on correcting it. For example, now 1,000 crores have been spent on correcting the water quality of river Yamuna. We are spending money over the times which could easily be spent by us for the purposes of social welfare, for bringing up our class of people who are in the poor category or who belong to the poor category because of economic limitations. So all this we could save, spend it for better development, rather than first polluting the rivers and then spending money on correcting the measures of pollution. So this is very unfortunate. We need to check ourselves. We need to do something which is very, very constructive in relation to protection of rivers and lives. Now, please kindly also see, I think we know it as a matter of fact. In all hilly areas, whether we talk of Srinagar, whether we talk of Himachal Pradesh, whether we talk of Uttarakhand, or we talk of any other hilly range, the best way the builders or the contractors are finding is that when carrying out the development activity, including laying down of railway tracks, the roads, the buildings, any kind of development, they just throw the entire waste down into the river because it is for getting some small economic gain. So you want to get an economic gain at the cost of such a huge damage to the natural resource that probably the nation will have to spend at least 1,000 times money that you have earned out of that for the purposes of correcting those wrongs which you have done for a very small economic benefit. So these are the certain issues that I would say very simply that we must first learn to respect rivers, our natural resources. When I say we should respect, we should relive the way we used to live in our past, that is protecting rivers, really worshipping them so that they give you life. So all you do is take care of rivers, respect them, and in turn, you get a beautiful life from such rivers. Because water is your source for anything, whether you talk of agriculture activity, development activity, day to day, and even for drinking water. Why? The Ganga river water was considered to be the holiest, and it could be for years together. Then a time came when you could not drink that water directly. Why? Who did this? Is it some outer source which did it, or is it the human beings around there and in our country who have done it? So naturally, it's a human contribution. Second, I think, is the economic benefits. When you drive, you must be very careful and cautious that you do not cause any irreparable loss or damage to the natural resource, particularly the rivers. Because rivers, as I mentioned to you, now for example, Gangaji itself flows more than 1,600 kilometers right from, its origin to Calcutta. And if it is giving so much of life, I don't know, 600 million people, I think, if I don't mistake, I don't remember the statistics so well. But you can imagine that and at least that thing is certain, that there are more than 5 states which are located on the bank of River Ganga, and they benefit from its flow. So it is very, very important for us to not destroy the natural resources for economic benefits, whether individual or at a little higher level. We should always protect them. Next, I think a problem come solution that can be said to be is the respect or proper implementation of law in relation to pollution of rivers. That is water pollution. We should adhere, maintain that. Industrial development, industrial progress need not be stopped, but it must be very carefully taken, and at any cost we should not violate the prescribed standards, no matter what it is. We must install proper environmental treatment plants, ETPs, and such technologies in the developing world that is coming. We should apply them so that they do not cause pollution of the rivers, because the river itself is capable of taking away the pollution, correcting itself, and maintaining its integrity of water. So we have to do that. And lastly, I think what we need to really do is that wherever we are dealing with our hydro projects or allied developments in the rivers, we should be very cautious that we follow very strictly the principle of sustainable development as well as precautionary principle, so that we don't damage. And the simple test is don't cause an irreparable damage to the entire process of the rivers. Lastly, we can also think of one thing, and that is this, that even one of the suggestions which have been moved now is the interconnectivity of rivers in our country. So, we have on the one hand, you know, uh, areas where you don't get the water and you have a lot of dry periods, while on the others you have the flooding areas. So there can be, it should be considered very objectively by the concerned quarters, that whether there should be interlinking of rivers so as to make them more useful and make the entire state into an equality of water distribution, so that the purpose of, because we are an agriculture country, so we have to be sure that our agriculture activity, now particularly because of the climate change, agriculture activity is likely to hit very hard. So we have to be very careful that we take up the proper meaning and proper steps to protect that. And I think I would just say that, it's if we're referring to COVID-19, because you can't forget this, what is happening around us, is that the COVID-19 is a message from nature to the humanity on the planet, that you all are kind of guests, are licensees here, and not the owners of this earth. So let's always realize that we should live like guests and licensees and maintain our resources. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And while uh, uh, closing my talk with you this afternoon, I would be begging leave because I have some very urgent, suddenly emerging meeting. So may I be excused after this, please. Thank you so much once again. And I do appreciate the Joshi Group Trust program, who are doing such good job. They should continue in the interest of not only that Mr. Joshi wanted it, but in the interest of our society itself. And I really congratulate everybody associated with Joshi Sahab. Thank you.